Welcome to our Line Opinion panelists for the week. We're joined in studio this week by former state representative Justine Fox-Young. So glad to have you back at the table. A warm welcome back to retired reporter Steve Terrell, who spent decades at the Santa Fe New Mexican, and I mean decades. And former state senator Dee Dee Feldman, she's here almost a decade in our state legislature. We start this week with a look at a new council appointed to advise the state Children, Youth, and Families Department. Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham created the council through an executive order meant to restructure the department she's called, quote, dysfunctional. Now, the group held its only scheduled public meeting last week when acting CYFD Secretary Teresa Casados introduced 6 members. Now, they include a former CYFD secretary, we'll talk about that, a child advocate, a foster care support provider, and more. Now, during Thursday's meeting, each council member explained how their backgrounds will inform their priorities. We'll get into those priorities as we move through this conversation. But let's start here with the makeup of the group. Senator, let me start with you. Are these the voices CYFD needs to hear from right now, the makeup of this group? How does it settle in your gut?
Well, you know, this commission comes on the heels of a previous commission, which actually had a rather wide representation from the community. This one is a little tighter, I think. Right. Although one of the things that interested me was the fact that Sandra Begay, who is a judge in children's court, apparently withdrew from this commission. And one of the recommendations of the previous commission was that there be more Native American involvement and more attention given to placements.
Do we know why she withdrew her name? Is there any reporting on that?
I do not know. Maybe somebody else does. But I don't know. I mean, there are so many withdrawals, including the secretary that resigned and now is on the commission.
What's the withdrawal period of the administration? We're at that point.
I guess so.
Well, that's a point. That's a point.
So.
Yeah. By the way, I know you know this, but it's Judge Catherine Begay.
Catherine Begay.
Right. I know you know that as well. You know, the council doesn't have a timeline in place for any action. Its only department-issued priorities are retaining foster families and employees. And Justine, those are important goals, but you know, given the concerns about accountability within the department, should the council have any specific mandates to get after, or is this just feeling just a little loose here?
Council and mandates are like oil and water. I guess I'll just back up and say, you know, the problems at this agency are so long-standing and so intractable that I hesitate to sit here and say I have solutions, and so I you know, I'm oddly tentative, you know, Gene, but we always have a council when we don't have solutions. We always have a council when nobody wants to be accountable, and I think that's where we are. I think this is a missed opportunity for the administration to really lay out some hard plans and really look at true reform, which is creating a vacuum and allowing the Attorney General and others, you know, to start looking at, okay, well, what are we really going to do, you know, maybe on a case-by-case basis. Raul Torres has said, I'm coming in, you know. You guys can ignore my legislative initiatives. The governor can poo-poo it. I'm going to use my, you know, my authority and come in where I can and address some of these systemic issues of racism. And so I think that's a real missed opportunity for the government, and I think it's really problematic because things are being addressed so piecemeal. So I don't have high hopes for the commission, but I'm not sure a mandate would get us there. But we need good leadership, and instead we have an interim secretary who's not answering questions. You know, well, maybe we're going to have closed door meetings. Maybe we'll let you know what we're up to. And that's not a good start.
It is kind of the signal, isn't it, of what Justine just mentioned. Some of the meetings are going to be for the public, some of them are not. Let me kind of peel back in history, though, Steve Terrell, on Justine's point here. The last advisory board, the Enhancing Delivery of Services Steering Committee, that was what the name of it was, finished its work, submitted its recommendation, no discussion about turning them into policy. And what happened was during last week's meeting, a former member of the steering committee spoke up, calling it insulting and disrespectful to disregard the hundreds of hours that was put in. Does that speak to a disconnection here? Like something's not quite stitched together here.
When in doubt, start a committee. Yeah, it really does. And that's, you know, they're not the only agency that's done this through the years. I remember they're going to have a study and it's going to lay on a shelf and pretty soon someone will just toss it. And the whole lack of transparency. I know they had one meeting public recently, but you know that, well, maybe we'll have some more, and maybe we'll have you know, closed door meetings. It seemed like what's going on here, and I agree with Justine. Complete missed opportunity.
When you think about it, Senator, you know, no account. Who's the one to put the mandate down? I guess that's my question. If folks are looking for a mandate, it can only come from a couple of folks, right? It can't come from inside their own body. Do I have that wrong?
Well, I mean, there are mandates and there are recommendations, and they can come from on high, or they
Right.
can come from an outside ombudsman, or they can come from the attorney general,
Or the courts can say,
or the
"We're
court,
done."
Right.
or the court,
Right.
which is already active here, and still the change has not come. That has been embedded in the recommendations and the internal mandates. So there really is. It is an intractable problem. And it's, I mean, just imagine what it would be like to work for CYFD.
True.
Imagine what it would be like to go into somebody's home as a social worker and know that the decision that you make is whether that person gets to see their child or
right.
not. No wonder there's a morale problem. No wonder there's every committee that meets says there needs to be a culture change.
That's right.
And
That's right.
that the department needs to have, you know, an internal reckoning about, is this a safe place to work? Is there a psychologically nurturing environment within the department?
That's right.
Do caseworkers have enough time
That's right.
to handle all the psychological cases and stresses
Are
that
there
they
enough
face?
caseworkers?
And are there,
Well,
and right.
They've already admitted there's
And are we
not.
taking on the problems we can really fix? Because some,
right.
you know, we tag CYFD with failing every time something happens to a kid, and it's not always the agency's.
Let me button down this transparency thing with you, Justine. The acting secretary has said that the council members will be empowered to hold public meetings or forums around the state on their own, but no specifics were given. Was that sort of a kick down? Like,
Yeah, totally punting.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
and I don't know why. You know, the governor came out strong with his executive order, laid out something of an agenda this session.
Right.
And I'm not privy to the details. I don't know where it fell apart, but that you can't start your DOA. You can't start
Right.
like that.
Right, exactly right. I'm not sure if that answers the issue. Let me go to something else. I'll start with Steve. 3 years ago, you might recall, Steve, I know you did, the state settled what's referred to as Kevin's lawsuit, of course, which alleged trauma-impacted children in New Mexico foster care lacked safe, appropriate, and stable placements and behavioral health services in the state system. 2 court-mandated annual reviews followed the settlement. The state received a failing grade each time. Is there enough urgency to fulfill the court-ordered reforms made in Kevin's settlement before we get on to something else?
It seemed just a huge mess, just a huge cesspool, really. What if they, you know, if they 2 failing grades in a row,
Right.
and they're heading for a third probably. No, I'm not sure what needs to be done here, but again, what they're doing ain't working.
Yeah. I apologize. The Kevin S. settlement. Sorry about
Yeah.
the guy, not Kevin settlement. My fault there. Do you have a thought on that, Senator?
Yes.
Yeah.
The thing is that the Kevin S. settlement, as I understand it, was that the department was supposed to provide care knowing that it was trauma-induced.
Right.
This is the
Right.
term now,
That's
the
right.
trauma-induced. And yet, the department, in its toughest cases, needs support, behavioral health support from other agencies, and the services just aren't there, especially for the teenagers who are the real tough cases. They can't even get anybody to house the
That's right.
teenagers.
There's no overnight
and so
housing
they're
for-
now, you know, in homeless shelters. And that needs to be addressed, but it's not just that department. There has to be help in terms of behavioral health services and other backup housing options for this population. So the department has got to work with others. And I have heard the Teresa Casados talk about that and how she wants CYFD to feel that that other agencies have their backs.
Gotcha.
And I think before you can really do that, the administration has to air all those gory details. I mean, that's what an executive order should say. It should say, we don't want any teenagers in housing shelters,
That's
in
right.
homeless shelters. I mean, we're going to end that this year. You know, but nobody wants to talk about it.
One more thing before we get out of the subject. The governor, as you folks remember, pocket vetoed a bill that would have created a new civil rights division to sue the state on behalf of children, quote, harmed by government neglect and incompetence, end quote. Instead of giving the AG that authority, the governor created this council, which is how we start this conversation.
This is Raul Torres' initiative.
That's right. That's right. What does that say about the administration's commitment to the well-being of the state? That seems like a reasonable step to a lot of people. What do you think about that? What Mr. Torres wants?
I don't know that I know enough to have a position about whether another office is going to fix it, but I do think it was not well orchestrated, and I did not hear the governor articulating a clear position as to why she opposed it. Now, she pocket vetoed the bill. She never put out any message, and so it sure looks bad. And you got Mr. Torres, you got the AG. I think sincerely, you know, looking to attack this problem, and which is unusual, you know, and this is a problem that doesn't always sit front and center in the press.
That's right.
So I think again, it's a missed opportunity. I mean.
Are the agencies rowing in the same direction here? Or are they rowing against each other, going in a circle? I mean, Mr. Torres, that's a reasonable request, it would seem.
Well, I mean, and it was the idea that there has to be some sort of outside oversight, some sort of grievance procedure that is not just going back to the department. That was in all the recommendations from these other commissions.
Thank you for saying
and,
that.
you know, the legislature also turned down a lot of the recommendations of these commissions too. It wasn't just the governor vetoing that civil rights section, but it was
30 legislative proposals.
I don't know, but they had a proposal for an outside ombudsman that was turned down.
right. Yeah.
They had a proposal from Representative Marion Matthews for increased transparency, and that was turned down by the legislature. So I don't know exactly what recourse there is right now.
Right, that's a good point. Let's finish with this, Steve. What access does the department owe to foster parents? Meaning in this, you know, youth care, other stakeholders in the equation, what do we owe these people?
Apparently, a lot of them are owed a lot of money.
Well, there you go.
And that they haven't received. No, they definitely should have a seat at the table, and you know, they're directly affected.
Yeah. Same, Senator,
I
same thing.
agree.
What do
I
we owe
totally
them?
agree.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether the current commission has a foster family in there or as part of their members. I think the other one did. But it seems to me that there's a former foster child that's part of the commission,
I see.
but not a current foster family.
That's interesting. Does that make a difference in your mind?
Well, you know, it's foster families are where it's at. I mean,
Yeah.
that's who we're relying on to take care of.
Holding payment and ignoring their grievances is not a great recruitment strategy.
It's a hard job,
That's
too.
right. Good
you
last point there from Justine. Thanks to our line opinion panel. We'll be back here at the table in less than a minute to talk about the latest development in an appeal that could send the failed P&M Avangrid merger back to the Public Regulation Commission for reconsideration.